let's get really excited, ladies and gentlemen. I've been building up to this all day. This is like an old man finally being given the dessert of his choice. It's the spending review! Hurrah! Now, can we talk about something else? Because frankly, is it just me? What does it matter? What does it mean? There's only one person, right? One person who has the intelligence, the clarity and the political nous to explain that to you in layman's terms, but he, I'm afraid, is not available. So Peter Cardwell, I'm dribbling. He's here. How are you, my old son?
Very well, how are you?
Thank you for doing the job so brilliantly while I was away.
Oh, it was great. I really enjoyed it. It was good. Yeah.
Shame the audience didn't. I'm only jesting. We are in a minute going to speak to James Wild, Shadow Executive Secretary of the Treasury, Conservative MP. There are some
just say Shadow Treasury Minister. It's a lot easier.
All right, I'll do that. That'll be the way to do it. I'm going to ask you to be involved in the show today, but I'm probably of the mindset that most of you will go, yeah, spending review, what a pile of old rubbish. Can we talk about the main points? The government vows, right, Rachel Reeves, Richard III, vows to end asylum hotels, pause, in 4 years.
Yes.
This is costing £7 or £8 billion a year, right? By 2029, unless my maths is completely crap, that's another 40 billion quid. Not one mention in this spending review of how they're going to stop illegal migrants coming to this country in the first place would then mean that we didn't have to pay this damn money out.
And they've cut the budget of the Home Office. So they've cut the budget of the Home Office by 2.2 percentage points. They're saying that there'll be a bit less money for the police, but there'll be more money for asylum. What they want to do is
less money for the police.
Well, I think
so with crime everywhere.
I think that's the likely outcome of all of this. If the Home Office budget is shrunk, well, then there'll be certain things that it can't do. And what we're in a position for, what Rachel Reeves is in a position to do now is to say, right, what we're going to do is we're going to get those people out of those hotels. How do you do that? Huge processing backlog. She's saying more money for people who can process those asylum seekers. But the problem is, about 3 in 4 of the people who say they're asylum seekers, the government judges to be here legitimately. So 3 in 4 of those people will have to go and find homes elsewhere. We don't have enough houses. Well, the budget of the housing department, that's been given some extra money, allocated in a different way. And we're in a position where the government are saying 1.5 million homes by the end of this parliament. But they're behind on that already, and the waiting lists are very, very long. So even though they're sort of moving money around today, no new money, and a lot of people saying, hold on a second, if you want to do all this, where's the money going to come from?
Going to raise taxes.
They're going to raise taxes.
They're going to raise taxes.
They've not done it today, but they'll do it in the budget.
So she promised an £11 billion boost for the Ministry of Defence. She confirmed £600 million will be pumped into the UK's intelligence services, calling it an essential aid in the age of insecurity. So more money for the NHS, more money for the defence, more money to dealing with asylum hotels, but not the answer. Harry Cole was here yesterday. I talked about Simon Casey in just a sec. Harry Cole made, I thought, a really salient point, which is the passport office. He's got a new job in America. He'd gone down to the passport office. He said, Jez, if you'd gone there 3 years ago, you'd have been there for about 3 years to get it done. It took him 90 minutes. The whole thing has been completely completely...
The passport office is a bit of government that actually works.
So why the hell can't you do that, Peter Cardwell, and create a processing system, be it here or in embassies, wherever it is? Why are we incapable in 2025 of saying, do you know what, right? Here it is. This is the criteria. You're in or you're out, and if you're out, you ain't coming in. You're going to be deported, sent back to your country, and we are going to save ourselves as a country that dosh.
Well, is this in the bones of Labour? That's what I want to know. Do they really want to do this? Do they really want to say to a load of people, you'll go home because you're not allowed to be here?
But they're going to lose the election if they don't.
Well, they've said they've sent home about 24,000 people. The fact is that most of those, the vast majority of those, about 4 in 5, are actually voluntary repatriations. People saying, do you know what, I overstayed my visa, fair cop, I'll go home. In terms of saying to people, you don't want to go, but we're forcibly removing you, you're talking about a few thousand people there.
Let's go live to Westminster, to the Green. We've got James Wild, who's the, just give him his proper title.
The Shadow Exchequer Treasury Secretary. Shadow Exchequer Secretary.
You've absolutely messed the bits off
Let's just call him the Shadow Treasury Minister.
James Wild, good afternoon, sir. How are you?
Good afternoon, I'm very well.
James, I suspect that the Tory party watched events unfold today with a degree of cynicism. The Labour Party would say they're in this position because you lot got it so badly wrong. What would you say to that?
Well, hang on a second. They inherited the fastest growing economy in the G7 after some very tough times. But what the Chancellor decided to do in the autumn was to whack up taxes by £40 billion a year to massively increase borrowing and to increase spending. That's what we've seen today, but she hasn't learnt her lesson. She had to come back in March to with welfare cuts to make her numbers add up, but the reality is that she's probably going to fold on those as well. And so in the autumn, it's pretty likely she's going to be coming back for more taxes. Bad news for your viewers, bad news for businesses.
In terms of this government, when it came to power, Pete, I'll include you in this as well. They talked about growth, 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 and we all know made it impossible for small and medium-sized businesses to be successful, raising the NI rates and all those sorts of things. But for most people in this country, James, and, you know, I speak to a lot of Tory MPs, and there has to be a degree, I think, of honesty amongst you that the British public had stopped listening to you. Yes, economically we're in a far better position, but the British people voted you out of power because you didn't do the things that you said you were going to do. That is a fact. Now, let's talk about the number one point. Whatever anybody tells you, the number one issue in this country right now is immigration. And I find it almost... It makes me incandescent with rage. I'd love your take on this. Why has no politician... You're going to say Rwanda to me. You didn't do it quick enough or soon enough, nobody left. Your Prime Minister lost his bottle. But my point is this. Why is there no politician from whatever side who seemingly has the intelligence to say we are going to create a system that processes people, deals with the backlog and makes Britain less soft so that all these people who are not escaping war-torn countries, because you don't leave your wife and kid if you're escaping a war, you stay in France, but they only give you a tent. We're too soft, we're too welcoming, and people are taking advantage. It is beyond me, James Wilde, to think that no party can get this sorted. I don't understand it, my friend.
Well, you're right, it is a massive issue, source of big concern for people. You were talking earlier in your comments about this ludicrous pledge to end the use of hotels by the end of the Parliament. That's far too long. You mentioned Rwanda. Look, we need to have a deterrent. People should be detained when they're here and then deported if they don't have a right to be here, and that needs to happen a lot more quickly. Kemi Badenoch gave a speech last week talking about unpicking some of the legal treaty issues, not just the ECHR, but the Refugee Convention and other things. And if they don't work so that we can deport people who we don't want to have in our country, then we're prepared to leave them. So you're right, we didn't get that right and didn't do enough, and that's why we lost in part.
Are you saying that your leader, James? Are you saying that your leader? Because this is what my viewers, my listeners, and all the people that I know would agree with. Why doesn't the Tory party have the gumption to stand up and say we're leaving the ECHR? Because it is patently obvious that this country, led by a left-wing human rights lawyer, and most of his muckers are employing people to put up with the most ridiculous excuses to allow people to stay here. And I genuinely, Pete, what do you think? People have had enough, haven't they?
Completely.
James?
Yeah, I agree, and that's why we've set up this process to go through these legal treaties, and if we can't work out that they can meet the deportation test, that's the first one we did. The fairness test is also about being able to prioritise British people over people who've come into our country. There's a series of common sense things. You're absolutely right, it drives people mad, and we just need to get away so that we've got a common sense and worked out plan to do this. The intent is there, if we have to leave these things, because it's gone on too long and we need to stop this problem in its tracks.
Pete? James, it's Peter Cardwell here. You're being pretty cautious on the ECHR. I know you're going through the process, and many people say that's a good thing. Make sure you're right and get things right. But the Conservatives in many polls are pretty rock bottom at the moment, 16% in one recent poll. Why don't you just be a bit braver, a bit more bold, and just say, actually, we've got a radical plan. It's very different from Labour. At the moment, I just don't sense an awful lot of opposition coming from you guys, except perhaps from Robert Jenrick.
Well, Robert Jenrick's part of the team. He's leading a lot of this work with Kemi to set out a very clear position on deportation and dealing with these illegal crossings. So we are serious about this. We're not going to have to wait long for the answer. Kemi, there are some issues around the Good Friday Agreement, which mentions ECHR. If you were to unpick that, what does that mean legally? But fundamentally, where international treaties don't work for us, we're not going to be part of them anymore. That's our clear position. We'll come forward with fully developed plans, but that's certainly the direction of travel. We need to end this problem.
Can I be really honest, James? Can I be really honest? And it's great to have you on. And you probably think, God, he's in your face. I'm just gonna say this because it's something that I feel really strongly about personally, and I know that the viewers and the listeners and people I speak to up and down this country feel exactly the same. The Tory party lost the ear of the British people. I was a traditional Tory voter all my life, and I was so hacked off with what I saw as a degradation of your job that I voted Reform. I've been very honest about that, right? I have concerns with all the political parties right now. But if one more Tory, right, tells me and people like me who are cynical about your party right now that we're still in the process of reviewing where we went wrong, Peter Cardwell is dead right. And I know it's difficult for you. Your leader needs to be front and centre, suggesting, promoting and talking about the ways that the things that matter to people can be made better under the Tories. Jenrick is the only goddamn person that you listen to, that we hear. I haven't heard from Kemi Badenoch, and it must be frustrating for you lot, because you can review Pete all you want, but we want meat on the bone, right? James?
Yeah. Well, she gave a big speech last Friday, specifically on the ECHR, setting out these tests for international treaties. Number one was a deportation test, and if we can't deport the people we want to, then we won't be part of any treaties that prevent us from doing that. So that's a very clear signal. We now got the lawyers to work through that, but it won't be long. We'll be coming forward with our position. And as you say, Rob's doing a great job in championing and making the case. That's what he's in the shadow cabinet to do, and that's why he's backing Kemi and getting on with it. But I appreciate your frustration, your viewers' frustration. They've heard it all before. But let's just say we get it. We get the need to do more on this issue.
James, it was very interesting today that both Keir Starmer and Rachel Reeves talked about the parties opposite, not just the party opposite, but the parties opposite, clearly thinking about reform. They see reform as their number one rival. Who do you see as your number one rival? Is it Labour or is it Reform UK?
Well, look, we're up against all of the parties. We're in a multi-party system now.
Who's your number one rival?
Depends on where you are. It depends where you are in the country. But the Labour are currently the opposition, the government, and we're the opposition to them. So we've got to take the fight to them. Also, we need to point out reform. Look, we've just had a massive spending splurge by Rachel Reeves. Reform wants to nationalise the water industry. They want to nationalise British Steel. They want to increase the benefits budget. We've already got a huge welfare budget, and they want to spend more on that. So they're quite left-wing on some economic issues, and we need to take the arguments against them and try and win back the people who are conservative, who are right of centre, who voted for reform at frustration at us. But actually, reform are offering lots of easy answers and aren't necessarily on the right on a number of the issues.
It's really interesting. I'll sum it up with this, and I know that you as a politician know. Steve just said, we don't want or need yet another process. We want MPs and parties to understand the illegals need to be sent back. Work it out. James Wild, thank you very much indeed. Shadow Executive Secretary to the Treasury. Difficult. Listen, he's a Tory. He's in the shadow cabinet under Kemi Badenoch. I've been totally open about the Badenoch thing. I don't think she's vocal enough. I don't think she's cutting the mustard. You've got 121 Tory MPs against 5 MPs from Reform who are far more vocal. And Reform have got their problems and had their problems, blah, blah. But at the end of the day, it is beyond me, Pete, and you do this for a living. I mean, let's talk about Harry's interview yesterday with Sir Simon Case. It's in The Sun today. Brilliant article. Simon Case said this country is teetering in debt, disorder at home, facing annihilation abroad, and it doesn't matter who the government is, they are being stifled by the blob and levels of bureaucracy. And I'm listening to this yesterday and I'm thinking, and you were in charge of it. How have we got to a point in this country, Pete, in 2025, where a bunch of, I don't know, working from home civil servants, not an elected government, seem to be calling the shots? It's wrong.
Well, the irony is that you have Sir Simon Case there, previously the Cabinet Secretary, previously the head of the Civil Service, essentially saying that even he, from that pinnacle, even he under Boris Johnson and Rishi Sunak, couldn't manage to change that.
Yeah.
And if you have the person at the top saying that, and being very honest now, and more honest than, of course, he could have been when he was in his previous role, well, where are we? And the thing I hear, I'm sure you hear it as well, a lot of our viewers and listeners talk about the uni party, this idea that no matter who you vote for, you're always going to get the same thing. And then someone comes along in the face of Nigel Farage and says, we're going to change all that. Well, the question I would ask is, first of all, if Nigel Farage wins and becomes Prime Minister, I wish him good luck. I hope he does well, and I hope he does change things in this country, because things do need to be changed, although I'm not necessarily a supporter of any political party. The point is, if Simon Case, who was on the inside for years and years and years, can't change it, why can Nigel Farage or anybody else?
But that, to me, is where I do sound like a cantankerous old sod.
No.
That's not acceptable. This is the United Kingdom.
Of course.
I don't understand how we've got to a point where, do you know what, we can't sort out immigration. The government haven't got any control. I don't think that's acceptable. Something has to drastically change. Just very quickly, in terms of this spending review as an overview from the political nerd of all nerds, she says, Richard III, Rachel Reeves, she wants to renew Great Britain, be it through the NHS or the police, maybe the defence systems, immigration. It's going to cost. The only conceivable way, surely, is by taxation. And yet the one thing I'll take from what James Wilde says is we were far better off as a country in terms of where we were in terms of growth and productivity at the end of the Tory debacle. We have gone backwards. They came into power and talked about this £11 billion black hole, but then gave 11 billion quid's worth of money to their union mates. She's messed the economy up. Do you, like me, think she's out of her depth, genuinely?
Yes, I do, and I think she'll probably be replaced. The problem is that if you replace a Chancellor, people look at the person who appointed that Chancellor.
Matthew Tobin told me yesterday they'll both be gone within a year.
I don't think that's true. It'll be very interesting to see what happens. What I do think, I mean, James Wilde is factually correct, as the Tories are when they say fastest growing economy in the G7. The G7 are not a bunch of really big growth companies, so it's sort of like saying, you know, you're the sort of tallest member of Snow White housemates. The interesting thing...
You're talking about the dwarfs. You can't call them that now.
I didn't use the D word, you did.
Can you not say dwarf?
I don't know, can you? What are you allowed to say and not say?
You're not allowed to say that in Hollywood. You've got to say vertically challenged smaller person.
I didn't say anything. I haven't said the D word. I haven't said it at all.
Just say it. Go on, say it.
Dwarf.
Good man. Well done. So we're both.
You know there are only 3 words in the English language that start with DW.
Dwarf.
Yep.
Dwayne.
Dwayne's a name.
A dwonky?
No, it's wonky.
It's a wonky donkey. It's a dwonky.
Okay, no, seriously. There are only three words. Dwarf.
Yes.
Can you think of any others?
What's on your mind? No, I've no idea what.
Dwindle.
Oh, dwindle.
Dwindle.
Hold on. My son, who's here, he should be at school.
Hold on.
What's the other one? Have you got an H? What is it? Shout it through to me.
He's probably Googled that.
Is it? What is it? He's Googling it now.
Yeah, well, no, dwindle, dwarf, and you would do well to know the next one.
Oh! Dwell. Very good.
There we are.
Back to the story.
Yes.
It is going to be taxation. It is going to be, and seemingly, and then we've just got some breaking news, which I'd love your response to, and your face is just going to... The UK has just agreed, ladies and gentlemen, I mean, honestly, to a fluid border between Gibraltar and Spain, which will not require checks on people crossing. The government's just announced they are clearing the way to finalise a post-Brexit deal with the EU. Can you explain to me a government that is fiscally in the toilet, right, that talks repeatedly about growth, that doesn't seem to understand how to defend its own country, seems absolutely fine with giving away British territory? We've given away the Chagos Islands. What does this mean for Gibraltar?
So some people in Gibraltar will be happy about this because it means, well, businessmen, for example, who want to
Not the monkeys on the rock.
No.
Do you know they pleasure themselves most of the day? I'm not even joking. That's what monkeys on the rock in Gibraltar do. Pleasuring themselves. Let's have this out.
As it were. Kevin O'Sullivan once told me about this. He said it was the most popular video ever posted on YouTube from
who?
Kevin O'Sullivan told me about
Sorry,
that.
Kevin O'Sullivan. This is something else. I thought, so Kevin O'Sullivan. Yes, it's true.
Yes,
Monkeys on the rock in Gibraltar pleasure themselves.
Okay, well that's really interesting. But the point is that people who are coming from Spain to Gibraltar won't have to show their passports. But you, if you go to Gibraltar, you'll have to show your passport.
Why are we bending down when we left the EU? Why are we giving away land? Why are we kowtowing to everybody? Why are we making the United Kingdom such a soft haven for people to come here? And all of this. And
Keir Starmer thinks this deal is in British interests.
No, this is him and his left-wing human rights lawyer mates making pacts, isn't it?
Looks like that to me.
You're smiling.
No, I'm not. I'm smiling because I just think a lot of this is just so inevitable. There's so many people who said free speech, Keir Starmer becomes Prime Minister, free speech is going to be under threat, our borders won't be as secure as they were, even though they weren't nearly as secure as they needed to be. And just a lot of this was predicted. And I just think that taxes are going to go up even more. We heard, you know, so much of what we heard from Labour, we were told the budget a few months ago, this is a once in a parliament budget, this is the way things are going to be, you know, everything will get easier from now. No, it's getting harder. And there's so many people, not just people on the edge, people who have good wages who are saying, can't afford a second kid, might think, you know, I'm in my 20s, I'm not, but I'm in my 20s thinking maybe moving to Dubai or something. You know, there are lots of people who are really, there are a lot of millionaires who are leaving this country one every 45 minutes. You know, there are real problems here. What?
It's just going.
You're leaving, are you?
Yeah. Can I just say though, mate, honestly, thank you, because you do, and I know we take the mickey and we laugh with each other, but you put it so well, and it is. We did say it, and you look at it, and it's almost this sort of This is not good, is it?
No, it's not.
It isn't good. And
well, you can understand people's frustrations, and it's not just people who are usually frustrated. There are a load of people out there who have no real interest in politics. Most of our viewers and listeners have more than the average interest in politics, but there are a load of it's everybody you talk to, and they just say life is not as easy as it used to be. It's harder now. Things are more expensive. Prices are going up. Even those little luxuries, going to the cinema, going out for a meal at somewhere like Pizza Express that I love doing, that's more expensive now. Why is that?
Why do you like going to Pizza Express?
I love Pizza Express.
Why?
Why? Because
is
it's
it the
great.
Pizza Express dressing?
It's a cheap thrill. It's all Pizza Express.
Anyway, Pete's got to go now. He's off to Gibraltar to watch the monkeys.
Should say, by the way, that
I beg your pardon?
Other pizza restaurants are available. They're just not as good.
Oh! Peter Cardwell, sponsored by Peter Express.